Who are trans, intersex, and non-binary people? What sort of issues do they experience in the workplace? And how might these problems be resolved? First things first. What does it mean to be trans, non-binary, or intersex? Transgender, or trans, is an umbrella term used to describe people whose gender identity or gender expression differs from the sex they were assigned at birth. In 2014, Amnesty International estimated that there could be as many as 1.5 million trans people in the European Union. Cisgender, a word used to describe people whose gender identity does coincide with the sex they were assigned at birth, is the opposite of transgender. What do we mean by gender identity? This term describes each person's strongly felt internal and unique experience of gender, which may or may not match the sex the person was assigned at birth. Gender expression, on the other hand, describes how a person presents their gender identity outwardly. This encompasses a person's behavior, mannerisms, how they dress, and even how they style their hair. A person's pronouns are also part of their gender expression. In order to understand what being non-binary means, we should first grapple with the concept of the gender binary. The term gender binary refers to the conventional social or cultural categorization of gender as either strictly masculine or strictly feminine, with no room for the rest of the spectrum. Since it denies the existence of intersex and non-binary people, the gender binary is a flawed and harmful oversimplification of both gender and biological variety. Non-binary is an umbrella term used to describe gender identities that are not solely female or male. There are many kinds of non-binary identities, including agender, gender fluid, and genderqueer, to name just a few. However, some people identify as non-binary only. 62% of trans respondents who participated in the 2019 poll by the European Union Agency for Fundamental Rights on LGBTIQ people in the EU identified as having a gender identity outside of the binary. Intersex, on the other hand, is a catch-all term for unique variations in reproductive or sex anatomy. These variations may appear in a person's chromosomes, genitals, or internal organs such as testes or ovaries. While some intersex traits are identified at birth, others may not be discovered until puberty or later on in life, for example when attempting to conceive a child. Experts estimate that 1.7% of the population is born with intersex characteristics, which is comparable to the percentage of people with red hair. Even as young as infancy, intersex people might experience discrimination, most prominently in medical settings. It is extremely important to note that being intersex is not a gender identity. That being said, intersex people can have a range of gender identities and gender expressions, much like those who are not intersex, and for whom we use the term endosex. When discussing gender diversity, another useful term is that of transition. Transition is the process of altering one's gender expression or sex characteristics to better match one's gender identity. This process may or may not include medical interventions such as hormone replacement therapy or surgery. Bear in mind that every transition is different, just as people are. A person will most often transition socially. Social transition describes the process by which a person adopts the name, pronouns, and gender expression, such as clothing and haircut, that match their gender identity. A person's legal transition may include a legal name change and changing one's gender marker. Much like medical transition, legal transition is often a lengthy, expensive, and, in some countries, an outright impossible process. All this presents unique challenges for a population that experiences disproportionate levels of discrimination in all aspects of life, including at work. In our next video, we will discuss the workplace discrimination of trans, intersex, and non-binary people, how it can be remedied, and why you should care. Inclusion for All, Trans, Intersex and Non-Binary People at Work is a 2-year project that started in November 2020. The project is being implemented in 5 partner countries as part of the European Union's Rights, Equality and Citizenship Programme. The aim of the project is to promote the effective implementation of the principle of non-discrimination against trans, intersex and non-binary people at work.